Good morning to all of you. Welcome to Legal Matters by Sai Babu Sankara. Our topic for today is the last two chapters of Draft Rules of Criminal Practice envisaged in suo motu writ petition by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. Already we have discussed chapters 1, 2 and 3. Chapter 1 deals with investigation. Chapter 2, that is framing of charges, and chapter 3 is the trial part. Now we are coming to chapter 4 and 5. Simply they are very simple, and particularly they are related to the judges. Therefore, it's not it may not be lengthy to discuss it. Therefore, we will deal with these two chapters today itself. So let's go to chapter 4, the judgment. Right? Normally, so this comes from rule number 12 to rule number 16. It means only 4 rules are there. So rule 12 says, so what should the judgment contain? Normally every judge knows, normally they are prepared in that format only. But once again, for the sake of convenience or for the sake of equality among all the courts in entire India, they have framed these rules. The judgment should contain, number 1, preface or a preamble showing the names of the parties. That is form A. It is very clear, names of the parties. Accused, plaintiff, defendant, respondent, appellant, so many things. Revision party, revisionist, all these things. Then tabular statement in form B. This also relates to the judges. You need not bother about it. Then appendix. This is more important. Appendix giving the list of EWs. So appendix will be normally they will give it in the last side. Here they have given it in the specific clause 3. So number 1, list of prosecution witnesses, list of defense witnesses, list of court witnesses, and exhibits marked by the prosecution, exhibits marked by the defense, material objects produced by the prosecution, material objects produced by the defendant, all these things, the appendix. So in form Annexure A, Annexure 2B, Annexure C, Annexure D, like that, it should be there, right? Then next rule number 13, so they have to comply with the points 354 and 355 CRPC. So 354 and 355 says what are the points for discussion. Normally 355 I will tell you. Metropolitan judgment. 354 is language and contents of the judgment. So normally language shall be in the language of the court, that is English or the local language. It shall contain the point or points for determination. So every point, what are they? So just like our the so-called charges. So what are the points for discussion and the point, the decision on the point and the reasons for decision. All these 3 points, they shall be specified in 354 and just like 355, this is Metropolitan Magistrates Court, right? Then in case of judgment, rule number 14 says, in case of judgment, judgment shall indicate offense involved. It should specifically say in which, so what is the offense involved and what is the sentence. Because in the case of writing, there may be 323, 324, 325, 326, 307, all these sections will be there. So under what section of law he is involved and what is the sentence given to that particular section, and whether they will run concurrently or consecutively, whether any remission will be there, all these things will be specifically stated in rule 14, right? In case of multiple accusers, suppose if in case A1 to A14 are there, yes, for each one should be given the so-called separately. So A1, 323, read with one part of this mark. A2, like that, each one should be dealt with separately, right? So suppose if the case is acquitted and the accused is still in jail, so direction should be given to set him off at liberty, right? The important point, rule number 15. So the MOs, the witnesses, all the exhibits, all these things should be referred by their nomenclature. That's not by names. Already in the last trial stage we have discussed. Then judgment should be paragraphed. and each paragraph, of course, is the discretion of the judge. Each paragraph to be numbered in seriatim, because in appeal normally we say in para number 14 it is decided that the court has not appreciated, the court has not applied its mind, the court has not taken consideration, para number 16 like that. So should be paragraphed, and the paras, even the judge can organize the judgment in actually sections, division by, so that is headwise, or the so-called we will discuss it as charges wise also it can be done. Right. Now we'll come into chapter 5, miscellaneous. Normally it relates to bail. Of course there are only 3 rules, 17, 18, 19. Rule 17 relates to bail. Of course, here the important point is in non-bailable cases, so the bail petition should be disposed of within 3 to 7 days from the date of first hearing, not from the date of filing. From the date of hearing, yes, first hearing, it should be disposed within a week. Right? If it is not done so, the presiding officer should give reasons in the order itself. He has to say why it is, because of the request from the advocate of the accused, or because of the non-receipt of the CD file. There may be so many reasons. The reasons should be indicated very clearly. An important point is copy of the order to be supplied to the accused or his advocate on the day of pronouncement itself. So there should be no chance for the accused or for the accused advocate to file a CA and get the same. So the copy should be supplied immediately on the same day itself. Right. So another important point is rule number 18. Normally to prosecute the case, the public prosecutor is there. To defend the government pleaders will be there. Besides them, or even though they are there, still to guide the investigating officers, to advise the investigating officer during the course of investigation, because the case should be built in a pakka way. As you know, all know that the responsibility or the burden of proof lies on the prosecution. Therefore, the state shall appoint certain advocates other than PPs to advise the IOs during the investigation. So it should be a separate entity. The prosecution should be a separate entity. Of course, once it comes to the court, the PP will take charge. So till such time, the police should be guided by separate advocates. Then rule number 19. So section 309, expeditious trial. So examination of the witnesses should be continued day by day. So that is what is called sessions. Otherwise there is no. So section 309 CRPC plays a major role. So it clearly says court there should be no adjournment. Of course, unless there is unavoidable circumstance, you need not delay it. If the court thinks it necessary for the postponement or for the adjournment of the sessions, it should be recorded under section 309 clause 2 CRPC. Normally should be done by sessions. If it is not possible, the reason should be explained. Right? So normally in civil in cities or towns there will be sessions courts, there will be magistrate courts, there will be principal assistants. So please, the advocates or the judges should give preference to the sessions cases. Sessions cases may be given preference over other work. So once the session started, it should not be postponed unless avoidable. So this is the most important thing. So friends, these are the guidelines or directions given by the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court. So we can call it as draft rules of criminal practice. With these 3 parts, we are concluding the same. So as advocates, you have to learn all these things. The first part relates to the police. If any police officer sees part 1, better you know. So most important is get the PM certificate, let the PM certificate have the sketch of the person and the injuries posted on the particular body. And second is you have to prepare a detailed sketch also. Besides your rough sketch, previously we used to do only the rough sketch. Now the specified sketch also should be posted, and the exhibits, all these things, court will take care of all these things. So with this we will stop. Thank you very much.